Hey everybody out there, my name is Dragnix, and this is Mighty Switch Force Hyperdrive Edition. It is $8.99 on the Steam store, came out yesterday in fact. It is a upgraded version of the 2011 title by Wayforward. Now, Wayforward has been a company that I've been liking what they've been producing lately, especially with the upgraded Shantae games in terms of the puzzle platformer kind of genre, and Mighty Switch Force Hyperdrive Edition is no different. It's got a lot of charm to it, and it's got a lot of smart gameplay decisions in what I've played in my first 2 hours so far. And I want to show you exactly what I'm talking about by getting into the gameplay here, so let's just get right into it. Alright, so the missions in question, the incidents, are people who you have to collect, all 5 criminals in each level, and then get to the exit in order to beat the level, and then you do it as fast as you can. Your main power in the Mighty Switch Force is the ability to switch the platforms in question. So those that are in the background now become in the foreground, and so on and so forth. You could use that to actually defeat enemies too, and crash them against the wall. You yourself could also crash against the wall too, as you'll see later on. This is overlaid commentary. I'm experimenting with the style because I want to give more information more than anything else. Now, use those platforms to solve puzzles. Like, for example, here, I'm trying to figure out how to get this guy over to that block so I can basically cause him to kill himself at this point. And so I'm knocking him in, there we go, and simple enough. Now, what I've liked so far about the gameplay is that they've kept it there's a lot of variety early on. Even though it's using the same mechanics, it switches them up very nicely and doesn't keep you bored with what you're doing. Each level so far that I've played has been rather different in terms of execution, some being more open levels and relying on me taking advantage of my deductive skills in terms of, okay, how do I get this person over there, so on and so forth, while others are more straightforward and rely on me reacting appropriately. Now, the platforming in question is good, the controls are exactly what you would expect here, and everything is responsive to the most part. The one thing you'll have to get used to is timing, which is something that you'll always have to get used to in things like this. Like the timing on this, for example, trying to get him to fire at that point. Sometimes you'll find yourself getting into a bad groove where you're hitting the same portion over and over again, like you're not making progress, but I can't fault the game for that in terms of the fact that it seems consistent. It's more so me just messing up over and over again. Now you see there, at that point, I hit the switch a little bit too early, and so again, the timing is rather important. Now, one thing I would like to say is that one of the things I've liked about Wayforward is their graphics capabilities in terms of when they put a port out there, they do put a little bit of effort into it. Not the greatest of effort, you're not seeing like millions of options, but you shouldn't need them in some of these games. These are very old school games. This is an HD collection. The old pixelated style is replaced with new HD visuals. The animation is crisp and clean. The frames per second is high up there. I want to say 60, if not greater than that at this point. So it is definitely worth the effort in terms of what they've done to port it over. It looks nice. It looks rather interesting to watch. Now, one thing I don't like is the fact that you can't just go into the next level. You always are taken back to that main screen, which just sort of, it's unnecessary over time, and I wish they would have changed that, especially with the little loading time that they have in there. Now, you see, we've gone into another level, and now we are being introduced to platforms that will change depending on whether or not you're standing on them. So, if I'm standing on it, okay, there, I'm able to only change one of the platform sets and not the other, which is, again, adding complexity to the problem, or complexity of the gameplay, but doesn't necessarily, overburden the player. It's very smart in that. It's very good at introducing just another little mechanic to really help you along, but then using that mechanic to its greatest ability later on to really add complexity. So, I have to give them credit. There's a lot of good design decisions in here. Now here I'm trying to figure out exactly how to do this. Okay, was able to figure out that I need to go on that portion and actually switch it up. Now, the little dog there is a checkpoint marker, so if I do die, I will end up respawning there. You have 3 lives in terms of the 3 hearts in question. You can pick up more hearts during the playthrough in question for any level. Anytime you get hit or you launch yourself out of the screen, that's when it's going to take a heart away. Generally, you don't have to worry about that, but in longer levels, you'll have to figure out, hey, wait a minute, I got to be a little bit more careful. Now, I also want to mention the music. The music is actually done by one of the composers that was behind the Shovel Knight music selection, which, again, Shovel Knight is one of the better sort of pixely music portions in terms of the 8-bit music, but here, it's definitely a sort of a upbeat, I don't want to say like pop or retro or anything like that. It's just high energy, and I've liked exactly what I've heard so far. It's very, very conductive to what exactly you want to play as. I mean, the thing is that this is a time trial kind of thing. You do want a little bit of a high energy in terms of keeping the player up and going at this point. Now, you see here, I'm launching myself all around here. I will say that the levels definitely, in terms of hitting the par time, you definitely have to play the levels 3 or 4 times, and you have to have a lot of precision. I found that the par times are really hard to actually hit, at least on my side, without playing it 4, 5, 6, 7 times. In fact, I've played this one like 4 or 5 times, and I barely missed the par mark, mostly because I wasn't able to execute on the last girl here at this point, as you see right now. Now, some drawbacks of the game, I haven't really found that many. Again, it's very simplistic. It was designed for the 3DS in mind, and so different control set, different, a variety of different things there. But in terms of the gameplay it executes rather well. It introduces things at a very slow pace. The difficulty is probably where I would say, okay, it could be a little bit more difficult, but however, the difficulty in my mind lies in the time trial portion to execute during the time trial, so I can't really hold it that much against it. Now, I like the little animations, like the girl chugging on her chain at that point, the girl with the bubble gum at that point. It's very, very stylized and very... like, every effort is put into every little detail within this port, and in particular in this game. And that's what I liked about Wayforwards. It's the little things that I always notice about games that make me want to play them again, and this is no exception. Now here I'm realizing, okay, how do I get that bomb so I can knock it over? And I sort of launch myself into the screen. I like the little twitch at the end there. Now, it's not horribly complicated, and if you're looking for more action than what you've seen on the screen, I can't recommend it for you, because again, this is what you're going to get. Now, I will again go back to the level design portion here. I've shown you about 4 different levels here, all in a row, and they've all been vastly different, but think about exactly what's been different about them. The concepts have stayed relatively the same. The different platforms, the launching platforms, the change-up platforms in terms of the red and blue, but they're rearranged in such a good way that you just don't realize that it's added so much variety to the gameplay. There, it adds the idea of using your gun in terms of, switching the platforms up. Again, a little slight variation in gameplay, but overall it works well for what you're trying to do. Alright, I'm going to do one more level here and then call it a video for this point. I also like this art style here, just the sort of over-the-top cartoonish style.
Let's go.
Yeah, this is a longer level here. So this level is it took me about 5 minutes the first time I had to do it. So here is, I'm trying to get the bomb guys over, using the platforms to move them over at a, regular pace. I will say that it will take you once or twice to, understand exactly what you're doing in a level, especially because it's just one of those things where you're just like, I don't know what I'm doing necessarily. I feel like I should be doing something different. Alright, so, again, simplistic, but works. Now, I will say that I am a very big Wayforward fan, considering all the stuff that I've seen from them and they've put out. And honestly, I'm really looking forward to the next Shantae game. I've already did the Shantae's a video on the channel earlier, and again, it's one of those companies that it is an indie, but it is, smaller in nature, and it definitely understands its genre and what it needs to do. From a game design level, I find that their game is rather simplistic, but works. It's very old school-esque, in my opinion, in terms of focus on gameplay more than anything else, but then bringing it to the new day with the visuals in question. I am definitely looking forward to the I think it's the Half Genie or the Half game that was introduced in the E3 2015 trailer, and this kind of game shows you exactly why. Honestly, there's not a lot of negatives I can say about the game. It does what it does well, and I think in the end, that's exactly what you need in order for a game to execute correctly. The fact is that as you go along, you notice there I was like very slow with and methodical with my gunplay there, and that's because I had learned by just playing the game, not by a prompt, not by anything like that, but the game taught me that, okay, if I just fire regularly, like, just, spamming the button, I'll end up losing time because I'm killing those enemies before they're able to, walk out at that point. Now here, twice in a row, I end up screwing up this timing of the jump. There is actually a movement feature in terms of you can actually look parts of the screen left and right. I didn't need to use it here because I knew the level, but you are able to sort of look down and left, up, right to see a little bit of what you need to do beforehand. In this case, I don't think it would have helped because, again, you're being launched at such a far distance that you wouldn't be able to deal with it, but the levels are reasonably short, so honestly, it's not one of those situations where I really can, really hold it against it again. I've used that a lot there, but I feel like that was the purpose of the design, and because it's the purpose of the design, I have less problems with it, and especially because of why they did it. In this case, I did think they did it because of the designings of the level and the way they went about it. I can't hold that purposeful design and what they were focusing on against it, I guess. Alright, overall, if you like puzzle platformers, and if you like games that sort of mix up the variety in terms of using simple mechanics but doing it well, Mighty Switch Force Hyperdrive Edition for Steam is definitely worth your time and effort. It is not one of those games that you're going to, sit there and being like it's a genre changer of any sort, but it's a very, very solid game. Alright, I'll leave a review like I do with the Steam below, and again, like, comment, subscribe, all that jazz, and I will see you guys on Monday, most likely. Hey everybody, thanks for watching. If you like this content and want to see more of it, you may want to hit that subscribe button on the left-hand side. If you like this video and want to see more of this content, take a look at this video on the left-hand side as well. And if you missed my last video, take a look at the right-hand side. Once again, thanks for watching, and keep on gaming.